Hello everybody, this is Cambridge English teacher Rory from studentlanguages.com, and in today's video you're not going to see me, but you are going to listen to me. And what we're going to look at is a proposal that a student sent to me a few days ago to correct. And so first I'm going to show you the proposal question, which you can see on the screen here. And you can also see some of the marks that he's put on the question as well to help him with his answer. It might be worth you pausing this video and writing down this question now so you can refer back to it in the rest of the video. But we are going to carry on, and I am going to show you the writing task that Francesco, his name is, wrote for me without my corrections first, because what I'd like you to do is to have a look at his writing and see if you can find any mistakes in it. You'll need to pause the video to do this, and afterwards you should have a look at the examiner assessment scale template and try to complete that as well. So just to explain one more time, write down this question if you haven't done so already, and then we're going to try and complete his writing, which we can see here, based on the examiner assessment scale template. So we want to pause this video now, try and find any mistakes in the writing, then complete the assessment scale, and then press play. Okay, so pause the video now, try and do that, and if you want to complete an online assessment scale like this, you can find one in the description below the video. Also, if you want to understand more about this assessment scale, you can find out more information on another video that I have already made called the CAE Writing Assessment Criteria. But if you have seen that already and you feel ready to go, pause the video and see if you can find any mistakes in this writing, and then press play, and you will hear me talking about the essay and correcting about the proposal, and correcting it myself. So press pause now. Okay, so hopefully you've done that. And now what I'm going to do is I am going to show you the correct version of the writing that I already marked, that Francesco did, and I have already marked it. Okay, so while I am showing you the correct writing, you will also hear my comments talking about the writing, so that will be useful for you as well. So let's have a look at his writing with my corrections. And I'm a resident in the area you are going to use the fund. Okay. I would say in the area where. In the area where you are going to use the fund. Yeah. Is it definite that they're going to use the fund, or is it that they would like to use the funds? Look at the question. Local businesses have set up a fund to pay for a community facility. Okay, yes, so they are going to. Good. It's a fine first sentence, but yeah, I'd use where because the examiners like to see relative pronouns, and you may get tested on those in the use of English paper, for example. Okay, specifically part 2 of the use of English paper. In the area where you are going to use the fund, I want to suggest the construction of a park, which in my humble opinion, okay, so I would say try and make this a little bit more formal. Do you have any idea how you could do that? If you do, pause the video, write down a more formal way. I'm going to show you an example. I would maybe say, I intend to suggest, or or just I suggest, you could also say. Or I would like to suggest. The construction of a park. Okay, this I would put also commas and turn it into a what we call a non-defining relative clause, which means that this part, which in my humble opinion is not necessary to the sentence, because you could say, I would like to suggest the construction of a park. I would like to suggest the construction of a park will be beneficial for the area. You don't need that information in the brackets. And because it's not essential to making a correct sentence, you should put commas either side of it. And it's called a non-defining relative clause. But you should maybe quickly read up about that grammar topic in a bit more detail, and then you know how to use it properly for the exam. The construction of a park, which in my humble opinion will be beneficial for the area and its residents. Okay. It's fine. It's a good sentence. So, the idea of the park by the river. Because it's not a specific park that we've already talked about, or a park which I already know about, I would change it from using the defining article, the definite article, the, to an indefinite article, just the idea of a park by the river. Because it's not existing yet, you are going to propose it. So, because I don't know about it, use a rather than the. What I am suggesting. Okay, so this, what I am suggesting, it's good English, but it's a little bit informal, I would say. So maybe we want to try and say it in a different way. For example, my suggestion is, or the topic of my for example. We tend to use more nouns and fewer verbs in formal English. So I'll make that in bold for you, but maybe try and think of a more formal way of putting it. It's the transformation of the area by the river in a public park. Okay. Transform something, we normally say into something else. So, transformation of the area by the river into a public park. As we know, in that area there used to be a big factory which now has been closed because of the negative impact that its chemicals had on the environment. Good sentence, okay? And good use of this, used to be. So I'm going to write that down. Which criteria, or which criterion do you think it would go under out of these four? I'm going to put it under the language used to be. So I can come back to it, remember that you used that. I'm also, while I'm there, going to write a little comment about language perhaps being a bit too informal at times. Okay, the content seems good so far. The organisation and communicative achievement all seem fine at the moment. Okay, its chemicals had on the environment. As I see it, it would be a fair response. It would be a fair response to the creation of a public park. Okay, well, you sort of repeat the subject. The subject, it, would be a fair response. The creation of a park, public park. I would put this part, the creation of a public park, instead of the it at the beginning, because this is the subject. So rather than saying it, you could just say the creation of a public park would be a fair response, which wouldn't be just beautiful, but environmental friendly too. Okay, so which wouldn't, I would say which wouldn't just be. Which wouldn't just be beautiful, but environmentally. There we go. Spell checker of Google showing it too. But yes, it's environmentally friendly too. Okay, so what do you mean exactly when you say it would be a fair response? Fair to me means a just response. I think I'm going to sneeze. 1 second. Okay, it's gone. It's a bit cold here in England at the moment, so I'm sneezing a lot. Anyway, okay, so would be a fair response. If you use a word like fair, I would be more specific as to why you think it's fair. Why is it fair? Perhaps or do you mean it as in an okay response? How do you mean this word fair? Can we be more specific about that? So there's a couple more language things here that would also creep into communicative achievement slightly. So what I'd say is it's possible to be more specific in some areas. And down here I would say that, let's say, some of the language isn't specific enough to really express your points clearly. Okay, that's actually still talking about communicative achievement, so I'll pop it up here. And succinctly. If you don't know the word succinctly, I would recommend having a look at that word. I'm going to make this bigger so it's easier for you to read. Okay. A couple of inappropriate or inappropriate. Actually, a couple of incorrect words. Have been used at times. For example, environment friendly when it should be environmentally friendly. Okay. Okay. Also, okay, so we have a contraction here. Contractions, quite informal English again. And it depends a little bit on who the target reader is, but local businesses seems to me like it's probably going to be pretty formal. You want it to be formal writing. As far as I'm concerned, the idea of the park would be beneficial for the community for many reasons. Okay, good. Firstly, it would requalify an abandoned and dangerous area, and it would transform it, okay, again, into... Can you think of another way to say transform? Because we did use transform earlier. The more variety of language you can show, the better. So try and think of a different way to say that, perhaps. It would transform it into a public park, which will bring a touch of green in this grey city. Yep. It will bring a touch of green. I would say bring green, not in this city, but to this grey city. Bring a touch of green to this grey city. Okay, good. Some good language here. Requalify an abandoned and dangerous area. That's good. Okay. Secondly, okay, so nice. Here we talk about organisation. In the paragraph, you're saying firstly, secondly. That's good. Also, you're linking your ideas with some phrases like this, which are very good to use as well in the exam. So I'll make a little comment about that down in the organisation. Firstly, that your paragraphs are clearly separated. So it's easy to see the overall structure of the writing. On an individual paragraph level, which examiners will look at as well. You use good linking phrases to connect your ideas. For example, firstly, secondly, firstly, secondly, okay, and as far as I'm concerned, is good language to use to explain and give your opinion. So I'll put that under the good language, which is going to go in here. Back up. So already I'm seeing like there's a couple of problems, a couple of good things. So right now I'm kind of thinking I'd probably give it around a 3. On this one also probably around a 3. These two are, we haven't finished reading yet, so we don't know about the content. So far, it's been okay. But again, I said it could be better in areas. So again, I'd probably be looking around a 3 at the moment. So let's continue. Secondly, it would allow people to do sports and fitness activities. And fitness activities open air. I would say, and fitness activities in the open air. I'll probably put a comma. Such as running, swimming, and canoeing, which surely will benefit their health. Okay. Good. I'd put a separation line between the paragraphs as well. Like here. Okay, so basically what we've got is the introduction, your idea, your suggestion, why it's a good suggestion, which we've got one idea, firstly, to reuse the land, bring more green to the city, and secondly, to allow people to do fitness activities. And conclusion, so that's a good structure so far, I'd say. You've put forward your reasoning for why you think it's a good idea and why they should follow this proposal. So, yeah, good so far. Conclusion. In conclusion, I don't see any reason. Again, I would try and avoid contractions if you can. I'll put something about that down here because I don't think I've used that. Actually, we could say it here, perhaps too informal at times. For example, you use many contractions. Maybe not many, but there's been a few of them. So, in conclusion, I don't see any reason why you should not consider this project, okay? Such parks have been built. I think you want to make it more strong. I don't see any reason why you shouldn't consider this project, so they should consider it, but not only should they consider it, I think maybe you want to make it stronger and say, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't want to go forward with this project, for example, why you wouldn't want to pursue this project. Make it stronger, not just consider it, but actually follow it, go through with it. That would be in the communicative achievement. It's your final conclusion could be made stronger, more compelling. Again, maybe I'm using a few words which you might want to research afterwards. I'm deliberately trying to do that, so then it will help you with your vocabulary as well. Okay. Conclusion, I don't see any reason why you should not consider this project. Such parks have been built in big cities like Madrid, Paris, and Berlin, and have worked. Okay, so it's good this as but I would probably not introduce it into the conclusion. I would give it as an example earlier on in the main body of your work, because it's not such a good idea to introduce new ideas into the conclusion. And I think this is an important idea. So yeah, I would move it earlier in the passage. Maybe as an example for how it has improved improved the city by making it more green, for example. And have worked, yeah. Because here we're also not saying like how have they worked. And if you introduce it up here, you can be more specific about that. I'm sure that it will be beneficial for our area too. Okay, that's fine. So I'm going to have a quick check of how many words it is. It seems slightly on the short side to me, but I might be wrong. Let's have a look. $240, okay, it's pretty much in the middle. So yeah, the length is fine. I think it's some more concluding points and useful things I can give you. So the conclusion I think is okay. I would move that one sentence earlier on and maybe add a new sentence in to make it really, really compelling and more make the local businesses more eager to follow your idea. The content. So let's go back to the question again and have a look and make sure you've answered all the different parts of the question. So local businesses have set up a fund to pay for a community facility in the area where you live, for example, a theatre, a nature reserve, or perhaps an ice rink. The organisers have asked residents to give their opinions about how the fund should be used. Okay. You decide to write a proposal suggesting a facility, which you've done. You've suggested a park. Justifying your choice, you've given 2 reasons for that. To make the city greener, to requalify the land. There's more than 2 reasons. And the third one, which was again, to allow people to do sports and fitness. Yeah, okay, so you've justified your choice, which is good. You could maybe use a little bit more language in here to show that it's working, to give your opinion and show that that this has worked. And again, that could be where you put this thing about it's worked in Madrid, Paris, and Berlin up in here again, because it can help to show that it really has worked in the past, and that's why you believe in this idea, and you're adding more justification to your choice again. Explain why you think it would be beneficial for the community. Okay, and you've done that as well by saying how it's good for their fitness, etc. So, yes, you have answered all the parts of the question. I feel like you could have made it slightly more compelling and maybe added another thing into the conclusion, like I said. So for that reason, I'm not going to give it full marks. I would say I'm going to give it a 4. I wouldn't be surprised if an examiner gave it a 3. I'm going to give it a 4. I'm feeling slightly generous. I feel like you, the main parts of the question have been addressed in this proposal. Some parts of the answer could be expanded or could use more examples, could benefit from more examples, and your opinions could be strengthened with these examples in order to make the proposal more compelling for local businesses. And now I'm writing it and I'm beginning to think, okay, maybe it's a bit more of a 3 rather than a 4. But you did address the main content points, and a little bit of that would be under communicative achievement. How well are you achieving the functions of the task, which is to create a compelling proposal? So a little bit of this is actually in here. So I've given this a 3 already. So I think it's okay for that reason to keep with a 4. But as I say, an examiner might give it a 3. So far, though, I mean, you only need to get 3 in all the different parts in order to have a good enough mark. And if you get the same mark in part 1, the essay, then you'll pass the exam. So you need 12 out of a possible 20, or 24 out of 40, in order to get C1 in the exam. In the writing exam, of course, you can fail the writing paper, and if you're average across all across all 5 sections, actually use of English, reading, listening, writing, and speaking, if your average is above 60, you're still going to pass. So you can't fail the writing paper, but of course we don't want to fail. We want to aim for the highest mark possible. Right, Francesco? So, okay. It's possible to be more specific in some areas. That's what I said. Some of the language isn't specific enough to really express your points clearly and succinctly. Can be made stronger and more compelling, yes, and I don't think that's just the final conclusion. I would say that also applies throughout the writing. I think it could be made slightly stronger, again, with examples. Okay. And with your use of language, like expressing your opinions. If you have a look for vocabulary, actually you should just have a look around my website at the other proposals that students have sent to me and take some of the good language. Have a look at my critiques of those and take some of the good language. I really think that reading other students' answers and seeing proper feedback that I've given them is a really good way to learn. In fact, I know you've already seen some of them, but there may be more around the website, so have a look, or in the CAE Writing Samples book I mentioned earlier. Again, you can find a link to that on my website, studentlanguages.com. Organisation, I've given it a 3. Your paragraphs are clearly separated, so that's good, and it's easy to see the overall structure of the writing on an individual paragraph level. Use good linking phrases to connect your ideas. For example, there's a mistake in my writing there. Firstly, secondly, etc. Okay. So if I can think any more about this, the organisation. Introduction, you say the idea, you say why the park, give reasons for that. I think the organisation is okay. I think it's fine. Yeah. Again, maybe slightly thing with the organisation is moving this again. That would fall into the organisation criteria slightly too. Not introducing new things in the conclusion, trying to put a bit more things in the main body. And finally, language. So there are some incorrect words used at times, okay? For example, environment friendly. I think there are a few others which I changed. So yeah, a few prepositions. So let's what did we use with transform the first time you said? Transform in, it should be transform into. Okay, so watch out for those tricky prepositions. And this is what I always tell to my students, is to revise collocations before the exam. I know your exam is in a few days, so you probably don't have time. And I wouldn't bother learning new vocabulary now if I were you before the exam. I think if you don't have enough vocabulary already, which it looks like you do, but even if you didn't, you wouldn't have enough time really to learn enough. So I wouldn't bother with that. I would focus more on making sure you've got the techniques down for every part of the exam. That's really important, and that's what I tell people to focus on right before the exam. I actually have a YouTube video called Help, My Exam is Tomorrow, and you should go and have a watch of that video because you'll find that useful. I also have a video on exam day, what to do on exam day. You might find that one useful as well. Okay, so revise collocations for the exam. You have used some good language as well. For example, used to be. So let's be more specific. So you've used some good grammatical structures. However, I didn't see loads of different grammar structures. I think you could push the boundary a little bit more and try and use a few more complex, a bit more complex language in terms of grammar structures. Maybe a few bigger words to show a wider knowledge of the English language as well could be useful. I remember this part about requalifying. It would requalify an abandoned and dangerous area. I think that's good, but I would try and use a bit more of that type of language if possible. To push the boat out, there's a phrase for you. To push the boat out means to try a little bit more. Because the examiners like to see that you're trying, even if it's not 100% correct. You get rewarded for pushing the boat out. Okay, so you've used some grammatical structures, used to be as far as I'm concerned. Some good grammatical structures. But, okay, let's say for example, you've also used some good language to express your opinions. For example, as far as I'm concerned. However, I think you could, there's the expression that I used before, push the boat out a little bit, which means try to use more, or a wider variety. Vocabulary and grammatical structures, including some less common. This is in the criteria. If you read the proper criteria the examiners use, they'll talk about less common vocabulary, including some less common vocabulary and grammar, and they say is more complex grammatical structures. Perhaps it's to informal at times. For example, you use many contractions here. So I think for this reason I'm going to push the language down one, actually, down to a 2. So we've got overall 4, 3, 3, 2. I'll write that down here. Content 4, community achievement 3, organisation 3, language 2. I think I'm probably in a slightly generous mood as well. The writing paper is difficult. Sometimes the examiners can be a little bit harsh. So it's possible they could give you a 3, for example, which might mean you get an 11. I'm giving you 12, which is exactly what you need to be able to pass. But it's possible that if an examiner, is being a little bit more strict, they could give you a 10 or an 11, maybe. So you're close. I've said that I think it's okay to pass mark. So then it would depend on your part 1 essay. But yeah, I've tried to be fairly accurate in this feedback. I hope you found it useful. I put a couple of links here for you if you want to find out more about how the examiners mark and what you need in order to pass the exam, etc. And yeah, but as I say, Francesca, I hope you found this useful. As you can see through my explanations, there's quite a lot of different elements involved in these different criteria, which are useful to be aware of. But I'm going to stop this video there, I think, and I'll send this over to you. And really good luck in the exam. I don't know, I didn't ask if you timed yourself when you wrote this, but of course you need to try and do part 1 in 45 minutes and part 2 in 45 minutes if you can. That's how I would separate it anyway, because it's a 90-minute long writing paper. And I suggest 2 to 7 minutes for planning, 3 to 8 minutes for checking at the end. Or maybe 3 to 8 in the beginning, I don't know. But roughly about 5 minutes at the beginning, 5 minutes at the end, 5 minutes for planning, 5 minutes for checking over your work. Really good luck. I've seen lots of positive signs here, and I hope it goes well for you. As I say, go check out my Help My Examers Tomorrow video. That would be useful for you, I think, and What to Do on Exam Day video. And have a look at my CAE Writing Samples book if you haven't done that already. And best of luck to you, Francesco. Feel free to write to me again with another writing or any other questions you have before the exam. Okay. Adios. Bye-bye. Okay, so I know I said I wasn't going to appear, but I decided to appear at the end of this video. Sorry it's a little bit fuzzy around me. But I know I'm also sorry about the quality of that video. I know it wasn't the highest quality. It was better before, but I needed to change it for the privacy of the student, and so that's why it's a little bit mismatched. But if you watched it until this point, congratulations, well done. You're obviously a very dedicated student, so you get the surprise of seeing me at the end. Good luck with your exam. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Also, feel free to write a comment below the video. See you soon. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel.